apprentice development many years ago. So I did not actually work in LIC, but I have experience of actually going through the interview process, getting a final selection from LIC. So I'd like to share my own experience as well as experiences of literally hundreds of candidates who have taken my guidance for the LIC interview process, both AAO as well as ADO. So let's start the session. Good evening. Okay, it seems sorry, just check. There was no audio. Am I audible now? I just looked at your comments. Am I audible now, guys? Can you please confirm? So thank you guys for the feedback. I'm sorry I wasn't looking at the comments section. Can you hear me now? Okay, even now there's no audio. Hello. Okay. Yes, you can hear me now. Okay, thank you guys. And sorry, I wasn't audible initially. So anyway, I was just introducing myself. I was talking about my own experiences. So this is the LIC interview guidance session. And I am Abhishek Gaike. I'll be a host. I'll be your guide, your friend for the duration, the next 60 minutes of this interview guidance session. So that's my introduction. I have a BE in Computer Science and Engineering from MIT Aurangabad, a PGDB in Banking from Manipal University. I was a gold medalist there. I worked in ICICI Bank and its Global Markets Group in Mumbai, and I was selected as an officer. Some of you are saying the voice is not clear. Okay, the voice, I'm audible. Deepak, it seems there's some problem at your end. Others are saying the voice is okay. So in case there is any glitch during this session, please comment immediately. I'm not checking the comments and it seems everything is fine right now. Okay. So anyway, I was selected as an officer in PNB, in Bank of Baroda, in LIC, National Insurance, SBI, SBH. I was selected in the Reserve Bank of India with an All India rank of 6. I cleared SSC CGL, got into Central Secretariat Service with an All India rank of 49. And I have 13 years of experience in bank and SSC exams coaching. This session, by the way, will be conducted in English only. However, if you have any trouble understanding me, please feel free to ask in Hindi or Marathi. I would be happy to help. I'll repeat the same things in Hindi as well in case you don't understand something. However, let me be clear, the actual interviews will be conducted in English or Hindi. So you should be comfortable in either one of these languages. No, Gaurav, sorry, I don't make any predictions. For expected interview dates, please contact Aakash sir. He'll also be conducting a session via Google Meet. I'll be present maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So during that Google Meet session, Aakash sir would elaborate on a few other things as well. So anyway, let's start the session. We'll be discussing personal interview questions during this session. So as usual, let me just classify the interview questions into four types, 4 categories. First is personal questions, profile based questions. Second, questions on insurance. Then GK and current affairs, and finally academic questions. So this part, insurance questions, has already been comprehensively covered by Nikhil sir through his insurance videos. Those videos are available for the students who've joined the interview batch as well. So he covered a lot of insurance concepts for the main exam. There was a separate series on insurance, and those very same videos are now available for interview batch students as well. Of course, a few live sessions would also be conducted by Nikhil sir for the insurance part, specifically keeping in mind the ADO interviews. So do take advantage of these sessions, these videos. Then GK and current affairs, again, Nikhil sir has made sure that he's covered a lot of current events and general knowledge for the main exam as well as for the interview. Again, there would be a few more live sessions as well. Although you have access to the recorded sessions in the interview batch, you will also get access to live sessions for GK and current affairs. These would be specifically for the interview. So there are certain questions that need to be tackled from the interview point of view. So those would be conducted through live online sessions by Nikhil sir. I would be taking care of the personal questions based on your profile. So we have one-on-one discussion sessions planned ahead for students of the interview batch, and generally I'll also be available offline at our office for discussing personal profile based interview questions. Okay, some of you are saying there's some distortion. Let me check. Let me just switch off the air conditioner. Am I audible now? Am I clear now? It seems there is some distortion. The voice is breaking. Is it fine now? So I apologize for any problem with the sound. I wasn't aware of this problem, otherwise I would have taken care of it before the session. So my apologies, my sincere apologies. So let's continue. As I was saying, I would be taking care of the personal questions, profile based questions during this session as well as during our interview lectures. Okay, sir, what if we applied from different state? Is that hamper? Okay, Gaurav is asking a very important question. Gaurav, I don't really think it would have a huge impact if you're successful in the interview. If you can successfully convince the interview panel that you can work properly, you can be as efficient as you would be in your home state in the division that you've applied. I hope you get my point. So if you can convince the interview panel members that you can efficiently work in that particular division or zone where you've applied, I don't think it would be a big problem. Okay, moving on. So, and of course, another point, I won't be discussing academic questions now, but I'll give you a fair idea of the kind of questions you can expect. Academic questions means questions based on your graduation. So we won't be discussing questions from your degree, your 4 years of graduation or 3 years of graduation, but it helps to be prepared, especially if you're a recent graduate. So by recent graduate, I mean you graduated in 21, 22, maybe even 20. That would be a recent graduate, someone who's graduated in between 20 to 22. Okay, still there's some problem with the sound. Sorry, Mohit. But I hope you can understand me, even if there's some problem with the sound. So anyway, let's move on to the questions. We'll discuss these questions one by one, and I'll also discuss the answers to these questions. I repeat, the interview will be conducted, the actual interview will be conducted in Hindi or English. That's why I'm conducting this session in English. Nikhil sir conducted a session in the afternoon, in the morning in fact, at 11 o'clock in Hindi. However, if you don't understand something that I'm saying, please feel free to ask in Hindi or Marathi. I would be happy to help. So before I move on, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable. I'd switched off the AC, so I'll switch it on once again. There could be some distortion in the sound in my voice. Kindly adjust. So I'll just go through your questions and then we can move on to the discussion, the Q&A session, right? So first I'll go through your comments, the questions that you've put in the comment section. How to introduce, okay, that I'll discuss. Shubham is asked, insurance awareness जो current affairs में है वो कितने month का important है? Shubham, you need not worry about these things. Just go through the videos that Nikhil sir has uploaded, as well as attend the live sessions that he'll be conducting in the next few days. That should almost cover everything from the point of view of the LIC-ADO interviews. Yes, okay, Jaimin, thank you guys. Okay, no other questions. So we'll have a separate session on the documents you need to carry for the interview. Aakash sir is the expert in that department, and we're planning a session on that in the next few days. So don't worry, we are here to help. We'll cover everything exhaustively. Yes, we'll also discuss about gap years, right? So let's deal with the questions one by one. In which city will the interviews be conducted? In the respective zonal or divisional headquarters. So I'll talk about my experience. My interview was conducted in Aurangabad city in Maharashtra because I had applied from this region. So there are quite a few interview centers, don't worry. And we'll discuss these things when Aakash joins us tomorrow or day after for the Google Meet session. We have quite a few free sessions planned for you guys. So all your queries would be answered in these sessions. So let me start with the first question. Tell me about yourself or introduce yourself. Now this is a very basic question. This is an icebreaker question. The interview panel wants to know how confident you are while answering this question. The actual details don't matter as much as the confidence that you project while answering this question. Nevertheless, I'll give you a standard answer. This is not an ideal answer, but this is a good answer. You can use it as a guideline while drafting your own answer. Okay, so let's say I enter the interview room or hall. I ask for permission, sir, please may I come in? The panel member, someone says yes. Then I'll go towards the chair. Sir, may I please have a seat? Don't sit directly or immediately. Ask for permission first. Sir, may I please have a seat? Then someone would say yes. Then you can say thank you. And let's say this question is the first question that's asked. So I can start with some good morning or good afternoon. So good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. My name is Abhishek Gaike. I come from a small village called Dinwara in the Gangapur Taluka of Aurangabad district. I have a BE in Computer Science and Engineering from MIT College, Aurangabad. After my graduation, I worked for 2 years in Island Software Systems, Pune, as a junior software engineer. Thereafter, I resigned, and for the last 2 years, I am preparing exclusively for banking and insurance exams, but more focused on exams conducted by LIC, namely ADO and WO. I am very hardworking and disciplined. I enjoy traveling and listening to music in my free time. I want to become a successful officer in the Life Insurance Corporation of India. That's it. This is a general introduction. Of course, I've included LIC, focus on insurance, because you're appearing for an insurance interview conducted by LIC. So let's say this is, suppose this would have been a bank interview, let's say conducted by SBI. I would have said for the last 2 years I'm preparing for banking exams, but I'm more focused on exams conducted by SBI, namely SBI Junior Associates and SBI PO. And the last line would be, I want to become a successful officer in the State Bank of India. So because this is the LIC-ADO interview, you can say, I've been preparing for various banking and insurance exams, or you can say insurance exams, but the truth is, no one prepares exclusively for insurance exams conducted by LIC. Most of you are preparing for IBPS exams, banking exams, and whenever these recruitments are out, these exams are conducted by LIC, you also apply for these. But if you say you're only preparing for exams conducted by LIC, that would sound a bit dishonest. The interview panel members are smart enough to know that most of you are preparing for banking exams, and many of you are considering this as a backup, not your ultimate aim. So they are well aware of this fact. There is a lot of attrition among ADOs. Many students or candidates leave. They either don't join or leave after joining, or they're terminated after a few months because they can't meet their targets. So it would be better if you honestly say that you've been preparing for various banking and insurance exams, but you can add that you have focused more on insurance exams conducted by LIC, and you appeared for AAO. You can say that you appeared for AAO as well as ADO. So anyway, that's the first. Now how do I analyze this answer, or rather I'll break it down for you. So I first greeted the panel members. You can greet them immediately on entering the hall, the interview room. Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Or maybe once you're asked a question, you can wish them and then start the answer. So good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Or good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir. My name is, not myself or I am. I'm saying my name is Abhishek Gaike. And if you're from a rural area, mention it. It's a big, I would say it's a huge plus. So I said, I come from a small village called Dinwada in the Gangapur Taluka of Aurangabad district. Then I talked about my graduation, not my 10th or 12th, simply my graduation. I completed my BE. You can also mention the year in 2000, let's say 20, from in computer science and engineering. From, you can name the college. No need to mention the university, or you can mention the university. No need to mention the college as well as the university. This information is already there in your application form, in your biodata form. So I completed my graduation from MIT College Aurangabad in 2017. And you can talk about your work experience as well if you have any work experience. Then you talk about your qualities. I'm very hardworking and disciplined. I enjoy, and then hobbies. I enjoy traveling and listening to music in my free time. I want to become a successful officer in the Life Insurance Corporation of India. That's it. If there is a gap, let's say of 3, 4, 5 years, you have to say something. So you graduated, you worked somewhere, maybe as a receptionist, in a call center, maybe in a coaching institute, as an administrator for 2 years, 3 years. At the same time, you were also preparing. You can say I was also preparing for various competitive exams, mainly banking and insurance exams. But be prepared to answer follow-up questions. So why not banking? Why insurance? Why specifically life insurance? Why not general insurance? Have you appeared for LIC-ADO as well? What was the result? Suppose you're selected as an ADO as well as a AO. Which one would you choose? Why? So these are follow-up questions depending on what you say in this introduction. Not all of you are asked for your introduction, but be prepared, at least speak for 15, 20 seconds about yourself. The answer should not be very long, but at the same time it should be substantial. It should cover the main points about your journey, your personality, or rather your qualifications, who you are as a person. Very briefly, only cover the main points. You should not ramble on and on for maybe a minute or two. The introduction should be brief, 20, 30 seconds max, not more than that. Okay, so now I'll look at the comments and try to answer some of the questions that you've posted. Okay, just hold on a second. Okay, many of you are concerned about the interview centers. So let's wait for Aakash sir to clarify on that issue. And we have a session planned tomorrow. So just wait for 24 hours. Akash sir will explain everything. Khushi, I have already answered a similar question. Please check the initial few minutes of the video. Okay, if you've not worked anywhere. Okay, Mangesh says, if the interview is then you can. Praveen, as I mentioned earlier, the interviews are conducted in Hindi or English. You can choose to answer in Hindi, but I don't think Marathi would be allowed. Not everyone in the interview panel would be comfortable with Marathi. So ideally you should speak in English. If you're not comfortable, ask for permission and continue in Hindi. So let's say if I'm asked a question in English, I can understand it, but I'm not comfortable answering it in English. I can ask for permission. Sir, may I please answer this question in Hindi? Most of the time, the members allow you to speak in Hindi. Not a problem. Sometimes, in rare cases, you could even be allowed to speak in the local language, whether it's Marathi or any other vernacular. But the point is, all your preparation should be in English or Hindi for these interviews. Okay. Then Mangesh says, if you've not worked anywhere, then Mangesh, you can't say you stayed back at home and you were prepared. Let's say there's a gap of 5 years. You can't say you were preparing for banking exams for 5 years. It doesn't look correct. I mean, it doesn't look right. It doesn't sound right. I hope you get it. It would give the impression that you're not a bright student, you're not a hard-working student, or maybe you're too dumb. So you can say you were working in a small shop to support your family, to be financially independent, but be prepared to answer questions related to your line of work, your claimed line of work. Then Akash has said he's worked as a private teacher. You can talk about it. Yes, I worked as a home tutor for SSC and HSC students. You could be asked about the subjects you taught and questions related to your subject. Not likely, but possible. Let's say you taught physics. You could be asked about the Archimedes principle. You could be asked about the Nobel laureates in physics, etc., etc. The level of the interview is quite good. I mean, the kind of questions asked are quite good. They're insightful, and you're expected to answer them properly. See, basically in the interview, they're trying to gauge if you would be a good candidate, if you would be a good employee for LIC in terms of by considering your marketing, your sales skills. Because you have to recruit LIC agents to sell LIC's policies. I hope you've gone through the advertisement. The advertisement has described the job profile in detail. And that was a common question last time round. What is the job profile of an ADO? What work will you do? Are you aware of it? So it's already mentioned in the advertisement. The salary is also mentioned, the pay scale. That was also a question. Are you aware of the pay scale for this job? So go through the advertisement. All these details are given in the notification. Saurabh, I wouldn't call this a government job per se. You're given targets. You're supposed to recruit agents. You're given. You have a target to achieve. So these many policies or this much amount as premium should be collected in this particular period. That's your target. And these many agents should be recruited by you. So these are targets that you have to fulfill. Your apprentices, after your apprenticeship is over, you're a probationary development officer. And after your probationary period is over, then you're a development officer. That time it would be a full-time job. But I would classify it as a government job. Yes, you can mention, Krishna, that you worked in a medical shop. That's okay. Now, anyway, moving on. Second question, what is your family background? So, ideally, you should say, it may or may not be true, but you should say that you come from a poor or lower middle class family. Now, why is this the case? Why should you lie? I'm not saying you should lie, but this is how you should answer this. Let's say I'm asked this question, what is your family background? This is how I will answer it. My father is a farmer. My mother is a housewife. She helps my father in the farm. I have an elder brother. He also helps my father in the farm. We have 2.5 acres of land. We grow cotton and soybean in it. That's it. So if you have a rural background, your father is a farmer, you can give this answer. Tweaking the numbers, maybe you have 3 acres of land or 4 acres of land. But the impression that you give must be that you come from an economically backward family or a socially or economically disadvantaged background. Because there are two reasons for this. First is, to be very honest, trying to get some sympathy, trying to get some appreciation from them that despite these circumstances, you've come this far. Number two, if you come from a humble background, if you come from a poor family or lower middle class family or middle class family, it is highly likely that you would continue in this job for a longer period of time as compared to someone who comes from an affluent family. See, let's say there's someone who comes from an affluent family, he has a rich background, his father is a businessman, or maybe his father is a farmer with 50-60 acres of agricultural land, and it is all irrigated, and there's lots of money, and he doesn't depend on the income from this salary, the LIC income, the salary income for his sustenance or the sustenance of his family, that particular candidate. That candidate is in no way dependent on this job, financially dependent on this job. However, if a candidate is poor, comes from a poor family, he gets a good salary, a decent salary, as well as social status, respect from this job. So as compared to someone who comes from an affluent family, a candidate from a humble background is more likely to stay in this job. Such a candidate is likely to work hard, to adjust, to adapt to the situation without grumbling. I hope you get this point. So that is the picture that you want to paint, which is why you should, in any interview, not just LIC-ADO interviews, LIC-AAO interviews, bank interviews, any interview for that matter, you should always say you come from a humble background. I hope you're getting this. क्या आप ये बात समझ रहे हैं? तुम्हाला हे समजतंय का? Saurabh, I've answered a similar question at the start of this session. Please watch that part of the video. Yes, Khushi, you can mention about your medical condition if there's a big gap. Okay, so yes, you understand this. So I'll give you an example. You must have watched quite a few reality shows where singers or dancers come on stage and perform. But before they actually perform on stage, the channel or this particular reality show first showcases their life back home. So how poor they are, the kind of difficulties they surmounted before coming here, the kind of discrimination they faced, the biases that they faced, and how they overcame these difficulties and successfully reached Mumbai, and now they're on stage performing, maybe singing a song or dancing, and maybe one of the judges then cries. I remember seeing Neha Kakkar in one reality show, and she was crying profusely because some candidate, this contestant, was narrating her story, how she had to face the wrath of her parents and family members and still, nevertheless, despite all these problems, she came to Mumbai, she got through the auditions and was one of the finalists. Now, as an audience, so as someone who's watching this on TV, I feel a lot of sympathy for such a contestant. I feel such a candidate is more deserving than someone who has not faced any problems while reaching at this point or reaching this stage. So similarly, after clearing the prelims and mains and reaching this interview, you can mention about the difficulties you faced, the problems you faced, and how despite these problems, you did not give up, you had many failures, but you really wanted to join LIC. And that is why, without giving up, you continued your preparation and you've now reached the last stage of the selection process. So when you express it this way, when you talk about your life, your family this way, I am sure the interview panel members would be impressed. So it's how you say it. Okay, so I hope you get this point. I'll move on to the next question. I think I've answered many of your comments. Some of your comments are quite repetitive. You're saying the same things again and again. I worked here and there, can I mention it? By all means mention it. But be prepared to answer follow-up questions. Let's say you worked in a photocopying shop, Xerox shop. So you could be asked about the cost of a single copy, the cost of the machine, how much does it cost to service it? Why don't you open your own shop? How will that experience be useful while working in LIC, etc., etc. So anyway, question number 3. You graduated in 2019. What have you been doing for the last 4 years? So talk about your experiences working somewhere. See, if you graduated in 21 or 22, you can say I was preparing for these exams full time. It's okay. It won't be a big deal. But let's say you graduated in 17, 18, 19 or even before that, maybe 14, 15. Then you shouldn't say that you were preparing all this while. You were only preparing for banking and insurance exams, doing nothing else. As I said, that would give the wrong impression. They might think you are too dumb, or you're not fit, you're not smart enough to work in LIC, because see, ultimately this involves a lot of marketing, sales, people management skills, and someone who hasn't been able to crack a single exam for let's say 5-6 years doesn't seem to be capable enough, smart enough to successfully, to efficiently do this job. So for this interview as well as for any other interview, bank or insurance, if after your graduation the gap is probably 4, 5, 6 years or more, you should never ever say that you were only preparing for these exams, doing nothing else. You should always say that you were working somewhere, part-time or full-time, and simultaneously studying, preparing for various competitive exams. You were working because you wanted to be financially independent, you did not want to be a burden on your family, or you wanted to support your family financially. That was the need of the hour. Okay, I hope you understood this. So I'll give an answer to this question. You can say, let's say I graduated in 2019. I can say, sir, I graduated in 2019. Thereafter for 6 months, I searched for a job, but I could not find a decent job in an IT company in Aurangabad. So I went to Pune and I joined a small software company, Birbal Technologies, where I worked as a junior software engineer for 2.5 years. Thereafter, I left my job and started preparing full-time for IBPS exams. You need not mention banking or insurance, you can say IBPS exams or exams conducted by IBPS. And if they want to delve further, they question you further, You can say, sir, I appeared for banking as well as insurance exams. In fact, I've appeared for LIC-ADO and WO exams in the last year as well. Last year or the year before that, whenever the recruitment was out. So that's it. I hope I've given a decent answer to this question. You've understood this. Yes, you might have to lie. if you've not been doing anything for 5, 6, 7 years, you might have to invent a story. So say you were working somewhere, but as I said, be prepared to answer questions based on what you said you were doing. Yes, Amit, you can mention it. If you have additional qualifications or certifications, by all means mention those in your biodata form or during the interview as soon as you get the opportunity. And think about how these additional qualifications or certifications might help you in your job as an apprentice development officer. Now, why do you want to join the insurance industry? You're an engineer or you're a science graduate. So why insurance? And why LIC specifically? How will your academic knowledge be useful while working in LIC? So these are all related questions. So I'll give a generalized answer. Let's say why insurance? So insurance is a booming sector in India. If I'm selected as an officer in LIC, as an ADO in LIC, I'll get a very good salary, facilities and allowances. Most importantly, I'll get social respect. Being a part of LIC will give me the kind of respect that I've always yearned for among my friends, my family members, relatives, neighbors in society. So that is the value of the LIC tag that I really want. So apart from salary, you talk about the brand value, and then you can talk about the practical aspects as well. Of course, salary and other things are also practical aspects, but you can also say, being an engineer, I was already comfortable with quantitative aptitude and logical reasoning. And this recruitment process by LIC is quick and transparent. It's based purely on merit. I've always been passionate about sales and marketing. And this job profile suits my personality, my aspirations. That is why I want to join LIC, that too as an ADO. So it's how you say it. You should cover as many points as possible, but talk about these things very confidently. Make sure you highlight your passion, your interest in sales and marketing, your interpersonal skills, your people management skills. You could talk about how you were the general secretary of your college or cultural secretary of your college, and how you were the head of various committees, and how this particular program that you organized was a grand success, and you got sponsorships from many local businesses. So that shows you're a go-getter, you're outgoing, you have leadership qualities, you can manage people, and you can bring in business. You can talk about some college function, the annual gathering, wherein you got sponsorships from local businesses for your annual gathering, and the sponsorship amount was the highest ever that year in the history of your college. You should say this very confidently. I hope you're able to understand what I'm saying. Some of you are not comfortable with English, but I deliberately chose to conduct this session in English because you must get comfortable with English and Hindi. So Hindi you can answer, but the questions could be in English. So you should be able to understand, grasp what someone is saying in English. Gaurav, many jobs can be mentioned. Working as a receptionist, as a call center executive, someone working in a library, as a helper, someone working in the hospital, as an office boy in an office, In the hospital, I mean, in an administrative position, doing some routine operational work. So you can mention many things, one of many things. Okay. Deepak, if you're working in the IT industry and if you're earning a decent salary, I would highly recommend considering other jobs. If you want to work in a public sector undertaking, try getting into LIC as an assistant administrative officer, or maybe joining a general insurance company as an AO, administrative officer. So I'm assuming because you're working in the IT industry, you would be getting a much better salary, a higher salary than what an ADO would earn at the outset, at the beginning. Anyway, moving on. So, what do you know about LIC? What are some of the products offered by LIC? Now, this information is given on the website. You don't need to know all the products in detail. However, if you have a basic overview, some knowledge of the popular products, that's a definite advantage. You can use this information, you can embed this information in your answers. For example, what kind of products would you pitch in urban areas? What kind of products would you pitch, insurance products, in rural areas? Let's say there is a newlywed couple. What products could you offer them? Maybe they have a 6-month-old baby. There's a Sukanya Samriddhi scheme or a Bhagya Lakshmi scheme. I'm not sure of the exact name of the scheme, but in your answer, if you can mention these schemes and the benefits, and this is how I would approach the customer, I'm quite sure the interview panel would be impressed with your knowledge of insurance products in general and your knowledge of LIC's products in particular. So general insurance knowledge, insurance knowledge in general, you can get from the lecture videos uploaded by Nikhil sir, as well as the live sessions he would be conducted in the next few days. At the same time, go visit the LIC website, check out their popular products and the customer profiles for those products. So let's say X product is pitched to young professionals, Y product is pitched to people who have children in the family. So get some information. I don't have all that information. I'm not the best person to give you that information. Probably Nikhil sir will tell you in his lecture, but be proactive. Get the information yourself from the LIC website. It's all there. Next, what is the job profile of an ADO in LIC? This is very important. Please go through the notification. I remember last year's recruitment, this was a common question and some of the students weren't able to answer this properly. See, you're appearing for the LIC-ADO interview, and if you don't have an idea of what ADO does in LIC, then you're in for some big trouble. The interview panel would not be impressed. In fact, this could be a make or break question. So it's very important. You should know what an ADO does. This information is given in the notification. So very briefly, I'll tell you about it very briefly. An ADO, you'll be an apprentice development officer, then you would be a probationary development officer, and then finally a development officer. Your job is to recruit LIC agents. These agents have to appear for an exam conducted by IRDAI. There's a training period. You have to train those agents as well and make sure that they sell LIC's products, these policies, to customers. And sometimes, or in fact many times, you have to go with these agents, approach customers, prospective customers, pitch the products. At least initially, when these agents are new, they don't have a lot of experience, you have to take the matters in your own hands and ensure that a sale takes place. So you have to recruit agents, give them targets, ensure that the targets are achieved, and get this business for LIC. You in turn would be given targets by your seniors. So that's the profile. This needs you for this job. You need sales and marketing skills. You need interpersonal skills, communication skills, people management skills, to an extent leadership qualities. So these are things you need to be successful as a DO in LIC. So anyway, moving on. Now this is an interesting question. Why have a career in life insurance? Why life insurance? Why not banking? Why general insurance? So see, the honest answer is you would have probably joined a bank had you been selected earlier in some bank, public sector bank. Almost all of you have no other option in your hand right now. This is the only option you have, and that is why you want to join LIC. That's the honest answer. But you shouldn't give this answer. You can say, sir, I have always been passionate. Again, this is not the ideal answer, but this is a good answer. You can use it for framing your own answer in your own words. So you can say, sir, I've always been passionate about sales and marketing, and LIC is a brand in itself. As the punchline says, जब LIC हो तो कहीं और क्यों जाना? So I hope you're aware of this. So that's the tagline or punchline. जब LIC हो तो कहीं और क्यों जाना? So LIC came out with this ad, and I realized that this job profile, this kind of job, is exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'm passionate about sales and marketing. I feel I can achieve targets. I get a sense of achievement when I reach my goals, complete my targets. And I feel I have good leadership qualities, good communication skills. And working as an ADO, there would be no limit to my income, because I would be earning a lot through incentives as well. And I'm quite confident, rather than working as a bank clerk or officer, or even in LIC as a AAO, I wouldn't earn as much as I would probably earn in the future as a development officer, because I would be earning a lot through incentives. I'm quite sure about that. In fact, I'm quite sure within the first year itself, I'll overshoot my targets. So you should say this very confidently. So I hope you're able to understand this. मुझे उम्मीद है आप समझ रहे हैं मैं जो बोल रहा हूं. इसे अंग्रेजी में बोलने का प्रयास करें. तैयारी आप ऐसी कीजिए. मराठीमध्ये तुम्ही विचार करता, मराठीमध्ये उत्तर जरी बनवत असाल तरी त्याला ट्रान्सलेट करा हिंदी किंवा इंग्लिश मध्ये आणि कॉन्फिडेंटली बोलायचा प्रयत्न करा. जसं बघा, इंटरव्ह्यू मध्ये तुम्हाला कॉन्फिडन्स दाखवता आला पाहिजे. You should be very confident throughout the interview. See, an individual candidate's interview duration is about 10 to 12 minutes. Let's say 12 minutes on average. So during those 12 minutes, you have to sell yourself. You are the product. You have to convince the interview panel members that you're the ideal candidate for this job. You have the qualities required to succeed as a development officer. And what qualities? Sales and marketing skills, communication skills, interpersonal skills, leadership qualities, people management skills. And you're street smart. You know how to deal with people. You know how to manage a team. And if you have work experience, do mention it, highlighting how you achieved your targets in the previous job, how you managed a team of 4, 5, 6 people, how you ensured sales, how you got these leads, how you collected these leads, how you converted prospective customers into actual customers. That's very important. So general insurance, typically there aren't many vacancies. So insurance sector in general is interesting, but LIC, among all these insurance companies, LIC stands tall above all of these companies. It's the best of the best. The branding, the social respect, the status you would get by being a part of the LIC family would be unparalleled, would be unmatched. So that is one reason why you want to join a life insurance company, and not just any life insurance company, LIC in particular. So anyway, moving on. This was a question in the previous interviews, last year's interviews. What are your views on privatization of public sector insurance companies? What are its pros and cons? So general insurance companies could be privatized. LIC is not going to be privatized, but there has been divestment of the government stake. A small stake of the government has been divested. Further, some more some more shares could be divested in the future, but it's highly unlikely that LIC as an organization would be privatized. So generally, you should talk about how LIC, being a government organization or a public sector undertaking, has got the trust and the money of millions and millions of Indians. How it's important that a company like LIC be in the public sector. That's the only life insurance company, in a government life insurance company, government owned life insurance company. There are multiple general insurance companies owned by the government, but there's only one life insurance company that's owned by the government, that's LIC. So it's absolutely essential. Crores of Indians have put their savings in LIC. So it's very important that LIC remain in the hands of the government. But at the same time, you can say you're not against privatization or divestment, not particularly of LIC, but maybe other banks or insurance companies, because that would ensure efficiency, efficient use of capital, efficient use of manpower, and probably help those companies and the employees in the long term. But if specifically you're asked about LIC's privatization, hypothetical question, you should say no, LIC should remain a public sector life insurance company. So we can discuss this more in our sessions, in our forthcoming sessions, but be very clear, never ever support privatization of LIC. You can talk about how LIC has taken over IDBI Bank. That was a question in the previous last year's interviews. IDBI, let me write it here. I've probably not included this in the PPTs. So what do you think about LIC's decision to take over the ownership of IDBI? Is it a good decision? How is it beneficial? So you should say it's a good decision. Through IDBI, another channel has opened up for selling LIC's products. And of course, this would also help IDBI, because IDBI was facing financial difficulties. So it's a win-win situation for both. And we can discuss this in detail in our forthcoming sessions. But generally, this should be a line of thought or line of answer. So anyway, I'll go through your comments. I'll take a brief pause. Let me go through your questions or comments. Okay. So even if you don't have any documentary proof of your work experience, you can mention it, but then ideally you should have some sort of written document showing that you indeed worked in that organization. However, don't worry if you don't have any proof. You can mention it, this is where I work, however, I don't have any written document as of now. See, the interview panel won't ask you for documents. The document verification process is separate. It happens prior to the actual interview. So first your documents are verified and then you go in for the interview. So even if you don't have the documents, during the actual interview it's fine. I'm talking about your work experience documents. So I hope Thakur, Khushi, I've answered your question. Similar questions. So moving on. Yes, questions related to your hobbies. So let's say you like cricket. You could be asked about certain technical aspects or current events. Who won the IPL? Who was the man of the match? Why do you think Chennai Super Kings won the IPL? Why do you think they've won it 5 or 6 times, I think, or 5 times? So what's so special about the team? And Gujarat Titans, a relatively new team, reached the finals. They had a spectacular IPL. What were the reasons? Who was your favorite player of the tournament? Who is the best captain, IPL captain? Or you could be asked about the Indian team. Generally, who could be the captain after 5 years? What do you think about KL Rahul's inclusion in the team? So these are possible questions if you mention cricket as your hobby. Now, this is something I did during my interview. So I was asked, I mentioned cricket as a hobby, and one of the members started asking me technical questions. So what was Sachin's average overseas and the number of sixes he has hit? And I had absolutely no idea. So I said, sir, I enjoy cricket as a hobby. It's a pastime activity. I've never pursued it professionally and don't intend to do it in any time in the future. See, because I do it to relax. I enjoy watching cricket. I've never looked at the technicalities because that sort of takes the fun out of it. Rather than memorize these facts and figures just to impress you, I'm giving you an honest answer that I don't know these things and I don't intend to get into the technicalities because cricket is something that I enjoy in my free time. I enjoy playing gully cricket. I enjoy watching cricket matches. Why get lost in facts and figures and numbers when you can simply sit back and relax and enjoy the game? So I gave not the exact answer but a similar answer, and that panel member smiled and the others also laughed, and they moved on. They asked some other questions. So that way you can avoid answering such questions on your hobbies. You can say it's a hobby. It's not something that you ever pursued professionally. Okay? So, moving on. Please give more punchlines to impress the interview panel. I did not understand your question. By punchlines, if you mean to say certain lines that would impress, not punchlines of the company, but LIC or other companies, but certain lines or words that would impress the interview panel, I would say it depends on the question, the situation, the question, your level of preparation. So you need some, I would say, some presence of mind, some wit to tackle these questions and give an impressive answer. So you need some practice, some knowledge, some street smartness to answer these questions. सरल शब्दों में कहूं तो इस इंटरव्यू में थोड़ा बहुत बोल बच्चन भी देना होगा, क्योंकि अंत में देखिए 12 मिनटों में अगर आपको इवैल्यूएट करना है इंटरव्यू पैनल को, तो वो तो हमेशा यही देखेंगे कि किस प्रकार से यह उम्मीदवार उत्तर दे रहा है. क्या इन उत्तरों से यह प्रतीत होता है कि यह उम्मीदवार अच्छी तरह से सेल्स मार्केटिंग कर पाएगा या टारगेट्स अचीव कर पाएगा? तो आपके उत्तर ऐसे होने चाहिए कि देखिए, बड़ी बड़ी बातें करनी है, किंतु ऐसे बातें करनी है जो रियलिस्टिक हो, वास्तववादी लगे. ऐसी कोई बात मत कहिए कि जिससे वो हंस पड़े, उन्हें झूठ लगे ये बातें. So anyway, I hope you've understood this. Moving on. Yes, an important question. Should we mention our hobby at any point? It will help me in the job. Okay. Yes, I got it. So ideally, good question. These hobbies should in some way be helpful while working as an ADO, or rather they should connect with your job. They should show that you would perform better simply because this is a certain thing that you enjoy anyway. For example, I'll give you an example. I'm probably not clear on this. Let me give you a simple example. Uh, let's say I enjoy traveling. I love riding a bike. I love traveling. I've done solo trips to different parts of the country on my bike, on my Royal Enfield, maybe. Or I'm a trekker, I'm a mountaineer. I visited various forts in Maharashtra. You can talk about your love for travel. You can say I love chatting with people, getting to know about them. So if you have hobbies like these, you would be very comfortable working as an ADU. So you can mention these hobbies. Okay? I hope I've answered your question, Kushi. Moving on. Are you ready to work anywhere in the region, the zone that you've applied? So let's say someone has applied for the Aurangabad region and that candidate is placed in a rural area. Someone from a rural area has applied for the Mumbai region. How will you be comfortable working there? You were born and brought up in a village, in a small city. How will you be able to adjust to life in a big city like Mumbai? Or maybe you're from Mumbai, but you applied, I'm just giving an example, for vacancies in Aurangabad, which is a comparatively smaller city, much smaller than Mumbai. And let's say you're from Aurangabad city, you were born and brought up in Aurangabad, the city, and let's say you're posted in a rural area. Will you be able to work there? How will you adjust to life in a small village or in a rural, not a small village, but let's say you're supposed to get business from a small taluka or region. Let's say you have a target of getting 100 policies from these 10 villages. What will be your strategy? First of all, will you be ready to work there? Will your parents allow you to work outside your home city, hometown? What if you're married? Will your husband or in-laws allow you to work away from the family? So you can say, sir, I really want this job. I really want to be a part of LIC. So I'm giving you an answer to this question. Sir, of course, I'm willing to work anywhere in the country. Not just anywhere in the region, anywhere in the country, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Sikkim, Assam, Tripura to Gujarat, Rajasthan. I'm willing to work anywhere. Within Maharashtra, although I've applied for this particular region, I don't have any locational preference and I'm comfortable working in rural as well as urban areas. Because right now I need a job. I want to be a part of LIC. So all these things, the location, rural area, urban area, all these considerations are secondary. And my parents have always supported me. I'm quite sure they would never forbid me from working away from home. If you're married, you can say, my husband, my in-laws have always supported me. And in fact, they were the ones who encouraged me to apply for this recruitment. So I don't think that would be a problem. So you say this confidently. Then tell me about your city, district. Now this is important. This shows how well aware you are about your hometown, your district, your region. Because ultimately that knowledge, the geographical knowledge, the knowledge about the city, the district would help you in reaching out to people, in recruiting agents, in ensuring that you achieve your targets. So you should be well aware of your surroundings, your city, your district. So read up on this. Your answer should be 30 to 40 seconds long. When you're asked about your city or district, give a detailed answer. Talk about the historical significance, talk about the geography, talk about the infrastructure, the industries there, etc., etc. Whether it's a tourist place, a pilgrimage site, you should mention these things. Go to the Wikipedia page and try to get these important points and frame a decent answer. An answer that would be 30 seconds long. So when you give this answer, you should speak for about 30 seconds. Moving on. So a few questions. I enjoy writing reviews on Google Maps. I'm a local guide. Yes, Pallav Viswas. Yes. That's an interesting achievement. You're a level 5 local guide. So yes, that's a good thing. So it shows you're well aware of your locality, your city, the business establishments there, and you can relate to your work, this achievement to your work in LIC. You can say, I know many people in the city, and I'm a very curious person. I'm a foodie. I have tried out various cuisines. I've tried out various outlets, food outlets, chart outlets in the city. And I love to review. I'm a vlogger. I have a YouTube channel as well. I'm very social, outgoing. So you can mention these things because these are qualities that will be directly useful while working as an ADO. A local guide, you've asked the dressing for the interview. Formal dress, formal shirt, formal pants. Tie is not compulsory. If you're comfortable, you can wear a tie. Otherwise, absolutely no need. Formal shoes, preferably black. Black belt, black shoes. That's it. For women, formal salwar kameez. You can wear a sari as well if you're comfortable. Otherwise, salwar kameez is fine. Don't wear a lot of makeup. Guys don't wear a lot of deodorant. So I know candidates who don't take a bath. They travel overnight, reach the city where the interviews are going to be conducted, but they don't take a bath. Instead, they wear a lot of cologne and deodorant. And the smell is quite overpowering when you enter the room, the interview hall. So for boys, I would strongly suggest, please take a bath on the day of the interview. Trim your facial hair, including hair on your ears, hair coming out of your nose. You should look presentable. Okay, so a special instruction to the guys. Yes, you need to carry the original documents, Gaurav. Moving on. So if you have work experience only, then this is relevant. Why did you leave your job? What was your job profile there? Will your work experience be useful? Now this is only for candidates who have work experience. Yes, you should give reasons. So depending on your work experience, I'll have to give an answer. So a generalized answer is not possible, but never badmouth your organization, your previous organization. You can say good things about your organization, but then you can say, I did not get such bright prospects as I wished to have in my previous organization. I was always passionate about sales and marketing, and ever since I was in college, I wanted to work as an officer in LIC. That is why it took some courage, it took some convincing, because I had to convince my parents, but then I resigned and started preparing full-time for these exams. Although I appeared for quite a few exams, banking and insurance exams, my ultimate aim has always been LIC. To say this very confidently. They should feel as if you really want to be a part of LIC. Anyway, so this part, the questions on insurance, almost comprehensively, exhaustively, would be covered by Nikhil sir. So please attend his sessions, and make sure you prepare situation-based questions as well. We'll be covering such questions in our interview batch, because last time round during the previous recruitment cycle, many candidates were asked situation-based questions, sales-related questions. Suppose, like for example, there is an elderly couple. What kind of products, insurance products, would you recommend to them? Or maybe what insurance products would you recommend to students or young persons like you? So you need to have some knowledge of LIC's products. And a more general question would be, let's say there is a farmer who doesn't know anything about insurance or isn't interested in getting insurance. How will you convince that person? Maybe that farmer is illiterate. What will you do? How will you convince him? to buy a policy from LIC? Or what would be your strategy for recruiting LIC agents? What skills will you look out for while recruiting agents for LIC? How will you train them? What qualities do you think would make them better agents? So these are practical questions. You need to answer them properly to show off your practical knowledge. So GK and current affairs questions, again, this will be covered entirely by Nikhil sir. Manipur violence, elections in various states, recent elections in Karnataka, economy related questions, budget related questions, deductions under various acts of income tax when you purchase insurance policies by LIC. What are the various acts? ATC, ATD, etc. You could be asked about social media, COVID-19, especially impact of COVID on the insurance sector. Have people become more aware about insurance, about the importance of insurance? So this was an actual question, by the way. Has COVID made people more aware or alert about their health, about their life? Are they more open to buying insurance now? अश्विन, एडीओचा ग्रुप फुल झाला आहे, एक ग्रुप, पण दुसरा नवीन ग्रुप बनवला आहे. ज्यांना आधीच्या ग्रुपमध्ये जॉईन नाही करता येते ते दुसऱ्या ग्रुपमध्ये जॉईन होऊ शकतात. तर एकदा संकल्पच्या नंबरवर कॉल कर आणि ऍड करायला सांग त्यांना, ते ऍड करतील, तुला लिंक पाठवतील. गौरव, you don't need to be clean shaven. If you usually have a beard, just trim it. You should be presentable. Even with a beard, you can be presentable if it's well maintained, trimmed. Moving on. So, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And an important thing is that I am available on the Ask Birbal app. Aakash sir is available. If you have any questions, go to this website askbirbal.com, or you can go to the Play Store, search for this. We use this app for connecting with students through video calls, voice calls. So you can connect with us. Aakash sir is available on this app for personal consultation. It's a personal private one-on-one call. You can connect with Aakash sir, you can connect with Nikhil sir, you can connect with Jayant sir. I am also available. We have given our timings there. Please feel free to book an appointment. Okay, so this is the app. You can go to the website or search for Ask Birbal on the Play Store. This name on the Play Store, or simply go to the website and download Ask Birbal for students, and you can connect with us via voice call or video call or even text chat. We can connect live one-on-one, and then I can answer your queries. So thank you very much for attending this session. If you're interested, you can join our LIC-ADO batch. You need to download the iPratham batch. The LIC-ADO batch is live. We're having a session tonight or probably tomorrow. That session will be conducted by Nikhil sir and Jayant sir. You can join this batch, start attending the interview sessions. If you're a student with lifetime admission from Island or Sankalp, you don't have to pay anything. The batch is free for you. Please contact Dada Sahib sir. Contact the helpline number, you'll get all the details. If you're already a student of Island or Sankalp, this is free for you. If you're not a student, existing student, please pay the fees. The fees is 1,500 plus GST, and you can attend the sessions. Okay, so thank you guys, thank you for attending this session. I'll be available on the Ask Birbal app throughout the next week, this week, the next week as well. I'm available on this app for private consultation, personal counseling and guidance for the next 25 days. So please connect with me. If you want to connect with Nikhil sir or Jayant sir, they're also available, and of course Aakash sir is also available. So if you have any queries, personal queries, you need some personal guidance, you can connect with us online on this app. Okay, so thank you very much for attending this session. See you soon with another session on YouTube as well as on the iPratham app. Till then, Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.